If you want to watch seasons 1 and 2 of Blue Exorcist, be sure to note that episodes 6, 11, and 18 to 25 from season 1 are anime original, and episodes 16 and 17 got changed pretty heavily to fit the anime original ending. Otherwise, these details will leave you extremely confused, as I was when I watched season 2. You see, I don't think the studio planned for a season 2. It took 6 years after season 1, and they had to toss in flashbacks to retcon what happened. Even the current season 3 is another 7 years later, and is animated by a different studio, hence the art. I'll be recapping and going through those changes the anime made in the adaptation of the manga to prepare for season 3. Season 1 only adapted 15 chapters of the manga, meaning until the end of volume 4, while season 2 adapted up to chapter 34, halfway through volume 9. Episodes 1 to 3 roughly follow the manga canon for chapters 1 and 2, but with some minor changes. Well, first off, the first 3 episodes added some characterization, which all in all doesn't make the anime a bad adaptation, but it does change some things. The comparison took longer than I expected, so if slight differences are not important to you, feel free to skip ahead to continue the recap. If you want to skip ahead, here's the super short version. Okumura Rin is a hothead who seems to have dropped out of school and can't keep a job. He got a fraternal twin brother, Okumura Yukio, who is the opposite of him. Cool, excellent grades, athletic, and going to a top school. They both live in some kind of monastery with their adoptive father, Fujimoto Shiro, who is also the priest. Rin gets attacked by a demon, discovers he can produce blue flames, gets saved by Shiro, was told he's the son of Satan, and is given a sword that seals his demonic powers, had a fight with Shiro, but Satan suddenly possesses Shiro and kills people, forcing Shiro to suicide when he gains his body momentarily. So Rin swore to kill Satan and sought refuge at True Cross Academy. Then discovers that Yukio is an exorcist teacher at the school. After some argument, Rin discovers Shiro was the strongest exorcist and had kept Satan at bay, but Rin hurting Shiro caused his spirit to break momentarily, allowing Satan to possess Shiro. Then, Rin and Yukio are assigned to the same room in the dormitory. Capiche? Then let's get into the details. The very first scene is anime original, because this guy is supposed to set up for the anime original ending. However, Exorcist spontaneously combusting with blue flames is a canon event. After the opening street fight, Rin goes back to the monastery. In the anime, Rin appears in a confession booth, and Shiro immediately accuses Rin of being in a fight. But in the manga, Rin comes back to dinner with the monastery, and Shiro praises Rin for being diligent in his job search. As they continue talking in the anime, Yukio comes back and the other members of the monastery compare the twins, causing Rin to flare up and the blue flame lights up the heater, with Shiro making a goofy response. But in the manga, Shiro only gets angry when Yukio points out Rin's wounds, subsequently giving him a recommendation to interview at a restaurant because he knows Rin is good at cooking. Rin doesn't feel like he can handle a respectable job, and it is the pressure of not meeting other people's expectations that causes him to flare up and destroy the heater unknowingly. Shiro also observes this flame with a serious face. In both anime and manga, Yukio treats Rin's wounds, and monastery members encourage Rin to go for the job interview. But the anime has the additional scene of these guys shooting birds, giving context to why Rin fights them, and it is the monastery members who found Rin a job, though not at a restaurant, but at a supermarket. Rin walks out to find Shiro talking to her mom and daughter. In the anime, Rin tells the girl that if her parents can't help her, then come to ask us exorcists. I mean, she's already here, which probably means you should help her. But the manga doesn't have these problems since Shiro gives her a 4-clover charm and she's never seen again. In any case, Shiro helps Rin with his tie. Then we have anime original scenes. Rin works at the store, showcasing his superhuman strength, but also making him seem clumsier. If you're watching the anime, you might think being the son of Satan somehow gives him bad luck, but this doesn't seem to be the case in the manga canon. The anime showcases Rin's cooking skills by getting him to sell some fried soba. As Rin goes outside, he sees the girl with Shiro earlier, encountering his first demon which stole the girl's scarf and wreaked havoc in the mall, causing Rin to be fired. There is then a dinner scene at the monastery, but everybody goes looking for Rin. Yukio finds him, and Rin explains that he doesn't know what happened. The twins go back, finding the girl with her father, who thanks Rin, and Rin tries to explain the existence of the demon he saw. Except, nobody believes him, and Shiro finally gives the girl a 4-leaf clover charm. Which honestly, in the anime context, it seems to imply demons caused Rin's bad luck so far, which isn't the case. This has the unintentional consequence of making Yukio and Shiro kinda like a-holes for not helping despite being exorcists. And with Shiro not giving the girl the charm immediately, you're kinda like, strongest exorcist my ass. Continuing the anime original scene, Rin wakes up the next day to see these creatures flying around, and then being lured outside by these guys who ask if he's scared. So let's rewind to the manga after tying Rin's tie. Shiro notices the critters, and then we're shown these panels implying that Shiro is keeping close watch on Rin. Rin goes for the restaurant job interview and starts to notice the critters as his powers awaken. The pigeon killers then approach him, and Rin only follows them because they want to apologize. So while Rin seems more responsible in the manga, in the anime, Rin is portrayed to be more of a hothead as these guys taunt him instead of offering an apology. In any case, the pigeon killers make fun of Yukio, causing Rin to punch them. In the anime, the guy retaliates by using a hot rod, while in the manga, the weapon is a bit tamer with a blade. Rin produces flames, and importantly, the anime reveals the demon possessing this guy to be Astaroth. But the manga doesn't reveal anything and isn't supposed to be revealed until chapter 130. Thanks anime adaptation, I guess. Shiro then saves Rin and explains that the world they live in is Asia, and the realm of demons is Gehenna. The two worlds are separate, but demons can possess certain things and come to Asia. And he also confirms that Rin is the son of Satan. The anime has extra scenes of them being chased by Astaroth's minions, and Astaroth coming back in disguise. Shiro then forcefully prepares Rin to leave by giving him the Kurikara in a secret basement. But in the manga, he opens the drawer with a Kamikakushi key. The anime also has Shiro do some spell with the basement after throwing Rin downstairs. Rin was rightfully confused and angry that everybody knew about his circumstances except for himself. In the manga, they quarreled on the spot, causing Shiro to slap Rin and immediately get possessed by Satan. But in the anime, the quarrel took place with the backdrop of Astaroth attacking the monastery, giving time for Rin to think about his past before deciding to come out of the basement to help instead of running away. Shiro repels Astaroth again, and it is now that the quarrel happens, causing Shiro to lose control to Satan. So the anime does bring a sense of urgency, and well, since there's cannon fodder around, anime Satan also burns a few people. Satan then tries to drag Rin back to Gehenna to rebirth him as a demon, but during this conversation, the anime leaves out one line. "I made you on a whim, but it worked out splendidly." So the anime implies a more deliberate scheme, which ties into its ending. Then Shiro kills himself to stop Satan from doing any more damage, but the gate has already been opened and is pulling both Shiro and Rin. This left Rin no choice but to pull the sword, and he destroys the gates. Later, as Rin visits Shiro's grave, Mephisto, headmaster of the Japanese branch of the True Cross Knight Order, comes here and claims that he needs to kill Rin. This guy doesn't really make any effort to hide that he is not a demon, but if you're rewatching, then you should know this sly bastard is mostly lying and is here to recruit Rin into the order. So yeah, but before Mephisto could initiate the offer, Rin says he wants to join the order and kick Satan's ass, so that's that. After this, Mephisto fetches Rin and Yukio to True Cross Academy. Some nice changes the anime added were actual scenes of memories. And talking to these guys so they weren't just some backstory. Rin was confused since True Cross Academy is supposed to be a normal school, even though Rin said he wanted to become an exorcist. So basically, True Cross Academy is like a whole town itself, and the school normal people go to is just one part of it. Normal school is basically irrelevant to the plot, and maybe for time reasons the manga decided to just not even show it, while the anime added some scenes of the school. Rin decides that he is not going to get Yukio involved in the exorcist world and meets with Mephisto after orientation. In the manga, Mephisto was already waiting, but in the anime, he appears in front of Rin in dog form without first telling Rin they're supposed to meet up. So, makes him more mischievous, I guess. Mephisto then warns Rin that it has to be a secret that he is Satan's son, then gives him a magic key that can open any door to the cram school. But okay, before we continue, can we just talk about this key? Like, what are the rules? He clearly opens a small door to a large hallway, so the door size doesn't matter, right? But what counts as a door? Does a drawer with a lock count? What if it's those like sliding doors? Can you use the key on a miniature home? Like what about a piece of wood which just had a keyhole installed? What if the door is transparent? What if two people use a key at the same time, do they just create some space-time problem? How come the Exorcist can create teleportation but otherwise most of their abilities are relatively lame? Like anyway, Exorcist trained at cram school, and in the manga when Rin walks into the classroom, he doesn't introduce himself and makes a mental note of how many people there are in the classroom. In the anime, Rin appears more brash by doing a self-introduction and then says, "Who the hell are these guys?" Also, for some reason, this hooded person isn't shown in the first two cuts, unintentionally implying that anime Rin is a lot more inattentive to surrounding people. In any case, Yukio is revealed to be a teacher for exorcists. He had been studying exorcism since he was 7 and is a genius in anti-demon pharmacology, and is the youngest person to become an exorcist. The first class is for everybody to get a spirit wound by a demon, after which the person can see demons. So Yukio explains he is going to attract goblins, so those who haven't encountered demons yet can get one. Small lore drop about goblins the anime didn't include is that they love milk. The twins then argue regarding their secrets, but again there are slight differences. In the manga, Rin waits for Yukio to say a few sentences before interrupting the class. In the anime, Rin interrupts Yukio pretty much right at the start of the class, basically increasing his impatience. But one thing that was improved is that in the manga, Yukio tells Rin immediately that he was infected by his twin brother at birth, in front of the entire class, which you know this means people can hear and speculate that Rin is a demon, right? And it is this argument with Rin grabbing Yukio, causing the mixture to drop and attract the goblins, that causes the classroom to evacuate outside. In the anime, Yukio asks the class to go outside before talking to Rin, making him more cool and calculated. Although Mephisto stayed quiet for the most part in the manga, in the anime Yukio tried to avoid the question and only properly responded after Mephisto said explaining would probably be better. And then the spill happened and goblins came. The anime skipped this panel where Rin apologized for spilling the blood and that goblins were also attacking Rin. So in the manga, Rin did more fighting by using his flames, while the anime only has him kill one big goblin. But the following arguments are the same. Yukio blamed Rin for Shiro's death because without Rin, the strongest exorcist wouldn't have been possessed by Satan. Then Rin explains that he became an exorcist because he wanted to be stronger so others wouldn't die for him again. This also happens to be the same reason Yukio became an exorcist, and they kinda made up. So, whew, those were the differences from episodes 1 to 3. Let's not do this again, that was way too long. So let's speed things up, eh? The next few episodes introduce the classmates. By the way, there are some serious spoilers in the wiki, don't Google their names. This girl is Moriyama Shiemi, the daughter of a family selling exorcist supplies. Her body is frail, so she never went to school. Also, she and Yukio knew each other. She wants to find the Garden of Amahara, which is basically all blue with flowers instead of fish. So Shiemi liked to help her grandma with the garden, but her grandma suddenly died, and Shiemi became sad, so a demon came into the garden and tricked her, causing her legs to become paralyzed. But the twins came and settled this in 5 minutes, so she is now okay again. Then she joins the exorcist class. This punk is Suguro Ryuji, but seriously nobody remembers that name, so just call him Bon. He's basically the same personality as Rin, except he ain't the MC and they have different family backgrounds. They even got the same end goal, which is to kill Satan. This is how he looks without dyeing his hair. Same, right? But well, unlike Rin, Bon is a prodigy and is on scholarship. By the way, since he scored 98 and Rin scored 2, the author is probably trying to say something like their abilities complement each other because they make a hundo. These two guys are always with him cause their families are in the same temple. An event called the Blue Night killed a lot of the powerful clergymen around the world 16 years ago. Because many people died, including at Bon's family's temple, the temple was seen as cursed and is in shambles. Bon's father took over as a head priest after that, and Bon wants to restore the temple to its former glory. This guy is Shima Renzo, the token flirt, and this guy is Miwa Konekomaru, the only guy left in the Miwa clan. As you can tell, he wears glasses, so he is the smart one. which is different from Bond's kind of smart, which seems to be book smart, cause he's dumb enough to jump into the pit of demons for no benefit and challenging Rin to try to prove himself. Which kind of only happens because the teacher received the call and then went away, which is kind of really sus, but apparently at least until the end of season 2 this is nothing. In any case, Rin comes down and saves him with his inhuman strength, saying that, "No, I'm the one killing Satan." So after setting up Rin and Bond as rivals, Mephisto is visited by Amaimon, confirming that Mephisto is also a demon. This conversation is different from the manga. Amaimon tells Mephisto that his proposal to father is accepted, with Mephisto saying that everything is going well with him taking their youngest brother in. Then when Amaimon asks if Mephisto is coming back, Mephisto says to not let father wait. But in the anime, this was changed to fit the original ending. Amaimon says that their siblings are livid because they didn't know Satan's kid is in Asia. And instead of having a pre-arranged proposal, raising Rin is something the demons didn't know about. Then Mephisto says not to let their siblings wait. The plot of the next episode, number 6, is filler. The demon Ukobak isn't in the manga, and I guess they introduce him to kinda say, hey, not all demons are bad. But not everything in this episode is non-canon. Like this cafeteria scene is from the bonus 4 panel comics. Mephisto refusing to give more pocket money because of his demonic curiosity for human concepts like money is also part of the comic, and so is Yukio's classmates not believing that Rin cooked his bento. I think it's not a bad episode, but you can skip it. This plain looking girl is Noriko Paku, and she's plain looking because she's going to drop out of Exorcist class soon. She's basically the only friend of the next girl. The next girl, Kamiki Izumo, has a terrible personality and takuan eyebrows. And in the first Tamer class she summons 2 foxes, where she reveals she's the descendant of a shrine maiden. Her backstory isn't revealed as of season 2, but going by anime tropes we can guess it's probably terrible, and when her backstory is revealed we're going to find her personality either change or be more tolerable. So to become an exorcist, you need to become a Meister in one of the 5 classes. It's basically like any RPG, it isn't complicated. Sword user is Knight, gun user is Dragoon, Healer is Doctor, Summoner is Tamer, while Arya is Bard. Except in Blue Exorcist, Arya's chant verses to kill demons directly instead of giving buffs and debuffs. You can also have multiple classes like Yukio, who is both a Dragoon and Doctor. Anyway, turns out Shiemi can summon this Green Man, which is actually super OP as we'll see later. She tries to befriend Izumo, but Izumo bullies her and training camp starts. The girls go to the bath, but suddenly a demon attacks. But because Paku didn't like Izumo's bullying, she dealt emotional damage to Izumo, and Izumo is unable to command her familiars. Rin and Shiemi came to help, with Shiemi treating Paku while Rin lures the demon away, which is when he realized the demon was probably aiming for him in the first place. Then Yukio arrives just in time to prevent Rin from using his demon powers. And we get the reveal that the summoner teacher is the controller of that demon. By the way, in the manga, the summoner teacher summoned this, so you immediately know the teacher is kind of sus, but in the anime he summons a wolf instead, making the culprit less obvious. Paku decides she's gonna quit being an exorcist. Izumo then starts a fight with Bond because of her terrible personality, resulting in the whole class being punished because of collective responsibility. You see, Blue Exorcist won't be joining any power scaling discussions soon, at least from what I watched. Although they fight demons and stuff, their physical abilities are still basically human. Fighting in teams makes the most sense, as you'll see soon. Yukio leaves and the demon attacks. Shiemi uses Nichan to create a barrier, but the demon's miasma is weakening everybody except for Rin. So Rin jumps out of the barrier to lure the demon away, but turns out there's another one. To defeat the demon, Bond and Konekomaru decided to just recite all 20 chapters of the Gospel of John, because they have no idea which one is the ghoul's fatal verse. Renzo is the vanguard, and because of Shiemi, Izumo regains her confidence to summon the foxes again. So everybody almost dies, and Bond finally finishes the verse which kills the ghoul. Also, these 2 guys are doing nothing. Meanwhile, the sus teacher revealed himself to Rin, and Rin uses his flame to easily defeat the ghoul, although losing sight of the teacher. When Rin goes back to his classmates, Yukio and the sus teacher appears, but then it is revealed that this whole training camp is actually an exam. So after the exam, Rin is starting to appear sussy to his classmates because he defeated a demon on his own, Yukio confronts Eye Patch for forcing Rin to use his demon powers, to which Eye Patch says that he's only doing it on Mephisto's order. Later, as Yukio visits Shiemi, he realizes no, that was way too sus, and catches Eye Patch trying to assassinate Rin. They start fighting, and meanwhile Rin wakes up to realize he's been moved to another room and then goes to help Yukio in the fight. Eye Patch then reveals that during the Blue Night, Satan had possessed his body and killed his entire family. He continues attacking, but Rin decided to just tank the hit and tell him to not drag innocent people into his grudge. Eye Patch then loses interest in continuing his kamikaze attack and walks away. At this point, the class has moved up in rank to X-Wire, but I have no idea what is supposed to be the correct spelling. Like, is this supposed to be like EX Squire, as in a short form of Exorcist plus Squire? Anyway, during the celebration for passing the exam, Mephisto tells Yukio that he misjudged Eye Patch's emotional capacity. But after Yukio walks away, he calls Amaimon to tell him to come immediately. Amaimon says he can't enter, revealing that True Cross does have really powerful wards, but Mephisto says Eye Patch will guide him in. The next week episode, Yukio gets a call for a mission and Rin secretly followed him behind. So turns out, Shiro's familiar is a cat thief called Kuro, who is placed here to guard the entrance. But went berserk after overhearing that Shiro is dead. Rin then learns that Shiro was the Paladin, which is the top-ranked exorcist. Yukio and the other exorcists wants to kill Kuro using a grenade Shiro gave them, but Rin realizes that he can hear Kuro talking and convinces Yukio to let him talk to Kuro first. Rin reminds Kuro of Shiro, Yukio realizes the grenade is actually catnip wine, and Kuro becomes Rin's familiar. Meanwhile, Mephisto tries to convince Amaimon to fight Rin, as the two of them watches what happened. Episode 11 is a filler beach episode where the class encounters a giant squid, and then turns out it was just trying to bring a person home. So after where Season 2 ended in Volume 9, there is also a beach episode with a kraken. But unlike the anime, this is actually dangerous. The start of Season 3 seems to have skipped over this mini arc to Volume 10, so I guess we have to wait and see if they'll adapt it later or skip it entirely. With that, we can move on to the next important arc in episodes 12 to 17, covering until the end of Volume 4. The class is given a mission to search for a ghost in an amusement park, and they are assigned in pairs. Rin can apparently hear the ghost, so he finds him, but he and Shiemi separate to chase the ghost. On the Shiemi side, she catches the kid and plays with him, and finds that the amusement park is just falling apart for some reason. But the ghost had fun, so he moved on or something? On the Rin side, Amaimon appears to steal his sword, and then they start having Dragon Ball Z battle in the park, damaging it in the process while the class thought an earthquake happened. This hooded classmate realized something is wrong and disappeared from his pair. Yukio also realized that something is wrong and goes to check it out. While Rin is fighting, he uses his blue flames to destroy some falling structures that would have otherwise hit Shiemi. But before the fight could continue further, the hooded classmate arrives and persuades Amaimon to return the sword and leave. Yukio then finally arrives, and the hooded classmate reveals herself to be Kirigakure Shura, an upper first class exorcist and high inspector from the Vatican headquarters. So Rin was taken away since Mephisto didn't report to main headquarters that they had the son of Satan with them. Mephisto then explains he was working with Shiro to tame the son of Satan to become a weapon for the order. Yukio tries to explain, also revealing that he knows Shiro, but he is outranked here and Rin is taken away for questioning. Through main character luck, Shiro happens to be Shiro's apprentice and adapter to him, so she tries to bluff that she was gonna kill Rin following her orders, but I mean, we all knew she wasn't going to, right? Shiro had asked her to teach him swordsmanship at some point, and through fake fighting, she realized that Rin was raised as a son, not as a weapon. Though one quite important difference is that Rin retaliated a bit in the anime, while in the manga he doesn't fight back at all. And while anime Shura stabbed Rin, she didn't really hurt him in the manga. Anyway, she confiscates the Kurikara until she determines Rin is able to wield his powers. And she also defies orders from the Vatican for the time being, becoming a teacher at the school. Then we get the official reason for Mephisto being here in Asia, which is that he abandoned Gehenna and joined the Order for Peace for Humankind. And off to the 3-day combat training camp we go. Yukio gives the class their training, which is basically to bring back a demon lantern and keep it lit for 3 days. Those who succeed in doing so will be given permission to join missions, although only 3 permissions will be given in total. So despite the wording of the tests or training to sow discord, the relationship of the class feels pretty good now. But also this isn't a slice of life, so we know this means it's a flag for something to happen. And the class quickly realized that they need cooperation to pass this anyway, so these 5 devise a plan to bring the lantern back. Rin gets caught by a giant moth. Then he asks the rest to go on without him, thinking that he can use his flames when he is alone. But Bond calls him an idiot for not asking for help and does some lightning thing. But importantly, this only releases the grip and doesn't defeat it. So there's a lot of emphasis on Rin's demonic strength and how weak normal exorcists actually are in comparison. And Bond tells Rin to rely more on the power of friendship. At camp, apparently Izumo and the other guy had soloed the mission. The training all looks good until suddenly Amaimon appears. But this time, Shura is already prepared and she repels Amaimon outside her barrier. Mephisto watches from a distance as usual and warns Amaimon to not kill anyone or he'll kill him. While Shura is protecting the class, Yukio is off dealing with the swarm of angry mobs, which he notices is unusually agitated. Shura gives back Rin his sword, telling him to run if Amaimon attacks. Turns out, Amaimon had planted a parasite in Shiemi, and Shiemi walks out while the conversation is still going on. Rin isn't exactly one for following instructions, so he follows Shiemi out of the barrier. But I guess Shura is quite flexible, so she repels Amaimon's pet and asks Rin to follow, while telling the rest of the class to stay inside the barrier. Amaimon taunts Rin to attack, though Rin doesn't draw his sword and is hit away. So despite seeing all these monstrous things happening, Bond gets more and more angry that Rin isn't using the power of friendship and walks outside of the barrier. But they're still in their training arc, so Amaimon easily deals with them. Seeing the danger that his class is in, Rin decides that he can no longer hide his secret, so he draws his sword and Dragon Ball Z fights with Amaimon. Seeing his blue flames, the class becomes super confused, and Yukio and Shura finally arrives. Through watching the fight, Shura realizes that mentoring Rin isn't going to be easy. Mephisto then interrupts the fight, but there are important differences between the manga and anime. In the anime, after Rin plunges Amaimon into the ground, Mephisto watches Amaimon get overwhelmed here before stepping in by casting a spell from afar to send Amaimon away. And he didn't realize that Rin went berserk, which allowed Rin to cut through his spell. But canonically, after Rin plunges Amaimon to the ground and they try to clash again, Mephisto steps in using his physical strength to stop the both of them. And it is Amaimon that pushes Mephisto away, making him use the long-range teleportation spell. Rin still goes berserk, but does not cancel the spell. So using the manga canon, Mephisto definitely seems stronger and Rin is maybe a little bit less battle hungry. Episode 16 and 17 does follow some scenes from the manga, but there are big enough differences that I will just use the manga for explanation here. The classmates appear concerned about what they just witnessed, but things are happening too fast and the new paladin, Arthur August Angel, is already here. Mephisto physically drags Rin into the scene, while Arthur quickly moves to execute Rin. Shura reacts in turn, although Arthur manages to turn it around and restrain her. But then, Arthur receives a message from the Grigori, who wants to bring Mephisto and Rin in for questioning. While Rin is being dragged, the classmates give conflicted expressions about the situation. Now, if you watch season 1, you may get the impression that the classmates were more fearful of Rin, but when I read the manga, I got the impression that they were more enraged. They were angry at Rin for being the son of their enemy, but also kinda angry at themselves because they knew Rin wasn't a bad person. Rin is brought to a court, and Arthur just steps him through the leg to make sure Rin is immobilized. Mephisto is accused of being a traitor, as he lied about Shiro killing a child of Satan 15 years ago. Mephisto explains that there were fraternal twins, with one not inheriting Satan's powers, and he and Shiro had kept Rin alive to make him a weapon against Satan. He then announces to the court a wager, that Rin will become the savior of Asia. While the court is chattering over the revelations, Rin flares up as he declares that he's going to be the strongest exorcist. And although Arthur seems keen to continue with the execution, the Grigori calls for order, explaining that the order has always learned from demons. And although Mephisto is still under charges, his 200 years of service gave him lenience. After a majority vote, the verdict is that Rin must pass the exorcist exam in 6 months, among other conditions. Understanding his weakness and the severity of his situation, Rin begs Shura to be his mentor. And well, obviously she takes him in. During the court proceedings, Yukio explains to the class about Rin's situation, but the class basically didn't get much information. On the next school day, Rin waltzes into the classroom to awkward stares. But the Kyoto guys are at the hospital, and although Shiemi wants to properly talk to Rin is assigned to a special curriculum. His first class starts in the training room, where he needs to master his flames, making sure that he has precise control over it. Rin fails, and as he practices, Yukio and Shura place the training machine while discussing the dire situation, Shura noting that Mephisto is incredibly sus. She also explains that although Rin's situation isn't good, she's actually more worried about Yukio, since he is exactly the type of person to fall to a demon. Someone who is full of resentment and stress. Meanwhile, Rin is distracted and frustrated from not succeeding, noticing how the other two did perfectly on the training machine, so he lost control over his flames and burnt off their clothes. But before they could resume training, an emergency in North True Cross called for all doctors, including Shura. Over at the hospital, the boys from Kyoto received news that the head priest from their temple collapsed. And after this, it's Season 2 territory. If you're thinking that it feels very incomplete, that's because it is. Season 2 covers the first major arc in the sense that the stakes are higher. But this script has gone longer than I expected, so I'll be releasing the Season 2 summary in the next video. Maybe we'll do a Season 3 recap on manga differences as it reaches, I don't know, episode 6 or maybe 13 episodes. I don't really recommend you watch episodes 16 to 25 because it wasn't great. But if you do watch them, just keep in mind that it's very different.